In this video, I'm going to explain how to refactor an Angular application. In here, this is the input filter. So just so that you can see what it looks like on the screen. This one is a PrimeNG input mask. This is an input mask with PrimeNG. This one and this one are using regular inputs, regular HTML inputs. So let's go back into the code here and just look at the amount of text that we've got. There's about 174 lines if you include the blank line at the end. Now, if we go in here, let's look at, let's move this over to the right. So we have phone number, but over here at the top, we have is invalid VIN, and then is invalid email. There's no phone number yet. What's going on? Well, this has been put together over time, was added to it. Now, I'm the only one working on this, but in the real world, you're going to have a lot of developers that are going to be adding stuff in there and constantly changing the code, which is part of the real world. That's how it goes. So here's the phone number down at line 101. This is kind of grouped. This is all good. It's all grouped together. And then here's SSN. And then here's email and VIN again. So it's kind of all over the place. Well, we're going to refactor that. The first thing we're going to do to straighten this out is to reorder things so that VINs and emails and social security and phone numbers are all grouped in the proper place. So let's begin. So this is a VIN, and this is an email, and this is a VIN down here, VIN error message. So the email doesn't belong here. Let's put it down where the emails are. Here's an email. Let's put it right there. So we have the is invalid, and then the error message is invalid, and then the error message. Here's a phone number. Now this is lost focus. So let's bring these. Here's phone number as well. Phone number, error message. And here we have SSN. An error message. VIN has lost focus. Has focus or lost focus. This is the VIN stuff. Let's copy or move this up above the VIN. Okay. Now let's go down. Email. Let's cut that. Here's the email. That's the VIN. So the has focus and lost focus we're going to put in front of the is invalid. Just make sure it's consistent with all of them. Valid. Has focus, lost focus, invalid. All right, now we're going to start labeling. Okay, so we've got everything grouped together here, and that's the first step. After we have identified the methods that are common, so has focus, lost focus, is invalid, and error message, these are common between all of them. After we've done that, we go ahead and we create a base filter type. So this base filter type has the has focus, lost focus, and is invalid, and get error message. So I've changed the names a little bit, trying to make it more generic. And what we're doing here, this is an abstract class. Very few people in my career have I seen use abstract classes. The ones that do use it really know their stuff. It's not always the right thing to use. You could do this with an interface, but in this case, I want some things defined and some things not defined. And an abstract means you can implement it, or you can extend it, not implement, you can extend it. And by extending it, you can use it, but you cannot instantiate it as an object. That's the same thing in Java and C++. So an abstract has a very specific purpose, and it's not used as often as an interface. So when I would interview people, I'd always ask them what's the difference between an abstract class and an interface, and I would get a blank look in many cases. Sometimes I would get people that could explain an interface, but they've never used an abstract. They knew what it was, but they've never used it, and that's okay, because abstract is not used that often. However, I do like to use it. Some people prefer not to, and that's up to you, your preference. But I'm going to demonstrate here how an abstract class can be used to simplify this. We begin by creating a phone number filter that extends filter or base filter type. So base filter type is what we have here. And now we've got the phone number filter. Phone number filter, for now I'm bringing this in. So this is going to be exposed. I know some people will say, well, you should have a getter and setter around that, and you shouldn't just expose it like that. True, but right now we're just showing how this is used in this respect. Now, I don't need to implement the focus, has focus or lost focus, because that's all defined right here in the base filter type. So all I need to do is the get messages, which is going to be this same thing. So if we go down and we look for this is phone number. So here's the phone number is invalid. That's been copied down here. And here's the phone number error message. That's been copied over here. So that can be removed. So let's start by commenting this code out. Let's go up here. And let's remove that and phone number. We don't need that anymore. What we do need is phone number, and it's going to be of type filter. Oops. And we're going to create a new filter. We have to import that now. So I imported that. And so that will create a new phone number. Now we need to link that into our input mask, and this is in our HTML here. So how do we do this? Well, phone number dot has focus, and that's going to be it there. Okay, that is not coming through. Let's find out why. Has focus. That should be a given. Oh, it's a lowercase h. So I don't need to put public there. I just had the wrong case. Go back here. Phone number dot lost focus. And here we're going to switch things around. Cut that out. Put that in front of it. Is valid. So phone number is invalid. Is invalid. Phone number, capital P, it's got to be lowercase p. And here's phone number. Get error messages. Yeah, add an S on there, plural. And that's all we have to do. So now, this should work. Let's go over to the web. And let's try our phone number. So 9999999. That's good. Let's try putting a T in there. It won't let me put a T. Let's see. Okay, that works. Let's try this. Okay, that's got something where it wipes it out if you put something incorrect in. This has a filter on it. All right, let's change the social security number now. For the SSN filter, I'm going to go through the whole thing here rather than just bring it up. So we're going to do export. I don't want abstract. And I want SSN filter. And I want to extend base filter type. And we want to, this error says we need to implement all members. So I'm going to implement the members here. We also need to add string, want to initialize it to blank. Now, this is something that, so constructor, you always want to do a super. I didn't do that on the other, but you do want to do that. It'll say unused constructor, remove unused constructor. This is something I'm unsure of. If it's not working, make sure you add that back in. But I'm just taking what my editor is telling me. It's unused and not necessary, so we'll see what happens. Otherwise, you do want to put a constructor in there, and you want to add information on that. So here's the SSN now. We're going to copy this, and we're going to paste this in here. Is active. And this SSN returning that. And then we want to get the error message. I'm going to copy that. Return that in there. Okay, that looks good. So now we're going to comment this code out. And we're going to go to the top, and we're going to comment these out, and we're going to go over to the HTML now. So phone number, filter dot phone number. That's one thing I didn't do correct on that. Let's go back over here. We need to add SSN filter. Need to import that. So now we have the SSN filter in there. That's taken care of. Plural, get error messages, and that will take care of that. We've removed this and commented this out. Let's go see if it works on our screen. So it's an input mask. The input mask kind of overrides a lot of this stuff, so it doesn't really work. But the VIN is a regular input, and we're going to try that. Okay, now we're going to, just like I did with the SSN, we're going to do the same thing with the VIN. Export VIN filter, extends filter type, and VIN. So my editor has an AI built into it, and it will insert things automatically for me. That's one of the things I really like about WebStorm. Professionally, this is the editor I've used, and I like it. When I first started working on this one team, my one team member was really razzing me because I was stuck on Eclipse. And Eclipse I thought was the best editor, and it is. It's a very good editor. My friend at work really razzed me and convinced me to try IntelliJ. When I found IntelliJ, it's like, oh my gosh. There were a couple things that took getting used to, but I really liked it. And then we started working on Angular and got WebStorm. And I'll tell you what, I love WebStorm. It has a lot of features. It's similar to IntelliJ. It's built off of IntelliJ, but it is a really good editor. Visual Studio Code is a good editor as well, but WebStorm has some features that Visual Studio Code doesn't have. I can, in Visual Studio Code, set up the keyboard keystrokes so it's the same as a WebStorm, but there's things in WebStorm that I haven't figured out how to do in Visual Studio Code. There may be a way, I just don't know it. So anyway, that's beside the point. So what we're doing here is we set up the VIN. Now we're going to go down. The has focus we don't have to worry about. Is invalid. I'm going to copy that, paste that there. Is active. This VIN. Then we're going to go down to the error message here. Copy that. paste everything there. All right. Did we forget anything? I don't think so. All right. We are now going to comment out all of the Vin stuff. Comment these two lines out. We're going to add Vin filter. All right, so we have phone number, SSN, and VIN. Phone number and SSN are using the mask from PrimeNG, so it's p input mask, and that actually handles a lot of the stuff and conceals a lot of issues. But I'm going to keep this way for now as focus. Loss focus. I remembered the S this time. So let's go and look at the web page and see if, looking at the browser here, let's see if this works now. On a VIN, you cannot have O, Q, or I, because the O and the Q look like a 0 and the I looks like a 1. And this is industry standard. Okay, we have a problem there. Let's go back to the code. Okay. My bad. Let's try. I'm going to put an O in, and I have an error message that's not readable. Let's put an I in, and we can see it's adding. So let's take care of this styling issue here. I don't believe I did that. Let's see, maybe there's something. Yeah, that's, oh boy. That's an issue. Let's go back to the code and take care of that. Notice the red line around here. It's because it's invalid. So if I put something in here and leave it, it turns red. It's invalid. Up here, it doesn't. Oh, got it. We did get an error message down there. All right, let's take care of the styling on that. That's a little embarrassing. So let's go back over here and let's look at the styling here. And the font size is 1M. That's the input group. I made it a little bit too tiny here. So let's make this an 8. Let's see what that does. So it'll be, this is basically taking the font size, which this is a good time to go over that. So down here in styles, we have some font size set at 11 point. Okay. When we go here, we say this is going to be 0.8 M. So it's basically like 80% of that font. Going to save this. Let's go back to the web, see what happens when we, it's still a little too small. Let's make this a whole 1.2. Let's try that just to see. Let's go back to the web. Let's put, okay, it's better, but it's still kind of small. All right, let's go back to the code. And let's make this 1.8. Okay, now it is readable. Barely. You can barely see the word errors there. I have some work to do on that. Probably have, let's go here and look. There might be some scaling going on. No, I don't see that. Yeah. So let's make this 0.8 as well. Let's go back to the code. I didn't show you what I did. So right here, this was 0.4 M. I changed that just like it was down here. So that was changed, that was fixed. And we're going to go back now to the web. So if we go in here and we type a I, whoa, O, Q, that's a little too big now. Let's go back and let's check this out. What did we do wrong? So let's make this 0.8. Save that. Go back here. Okay, it's still too big, and this, notice the errors is way too big. And this is showing, I don't know why it didn't work correctly last time. It might be in relationship to this. So let's try 0.8. Save that. I'm going to leave that at 0.8. Go back to the web. Okay, it is in relationship. If I change this to 1.1, let's go back here. That looks better. We can leave it at that. See if I get to 17 characters, it won't let me anymore. All right. That works now. And so if I put something in here and leave, see it goes red, and it says it can't be lowercase. I have this set up so that there's errors if it's lowercase. It's got to be all uppercase. Now I could force it uppercase in the input, but I'm just demonstrating how this can be done using that. And again, now we will work on the email filter. export email filter, and not implements but extends base filter type. And I need to implement all members. I'm going to put string equals quote, quote to make sure it's not uninitialized. All right, so we're going to go back over here. Here's the email. We can comment those out right now. And copy that. Replace that. This email. And now we're going to copy this. And paste that in there. I'm going to be using it in just a moment here. So let's comment this out. And we're going to add email. And we import that. And we remove that. Go over here. Okay, that's all we had to do there. So now we've eliminated all this noise. Let's delete it. And let's go back, verify in the web. So, again, I forgot this. So this is the object right here, and the object contains the word email, but the object is a variable that I've defined right here. Probably should have called it email filter. I'm lazy. So that's why that is like that. So let's go back over here. Let's save that to make sure it's clean. And now, yes. All right. So some domains are only 2 digits. I need to modify that, I think. Okay. So anyway, you can see that it works. And if I leave, it's got an error. If I come back, so that's basically how we refactor that. But there's still a lot more we can refactor. Notice anything else that's duplicated? Now look at how long this was and look how short it is now. We've got some extra classes coming in, only 4. And we've added some filter types here. So that's all we've added so far. But there is more that can be done. Dry. Don't repeat yourself. That's what dry means. This is the same as this. Is the same as this. Is the same as this. How would you refactor that? What are some ideas you can think of? Are you ready for this? What we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this and replace it with a single line, which will greatly reduce the amount of HTML we have to look at. Let's start by creating a new component that will do this. Now we're going to do it not down in the input filter. I want to show you that this can be anywhere. So filter types I had put down in here because I was just doing it with the input filter, but you could put this anywhere. So what I'm going to do is at this level here, I'm going to go and create a new Angular component using a schematic. So here's the component. Now what am I going to call this? I want to call this, let's see. This is an input error message or input. It's going to be generic. I can use it for anything that's using this type of filter. For that reason, the filters really should be at a top level so others can use it. Let's move that up before we do anything here. Let's move that up here to this level. I'm going to refactor. This is another reason I like WebStorm. It's so easy to refactor. So all this got moved up here, and all my code got updated. So if I look here, so now it's going, let's make sure. Yep. So it knows where those are. So they all got refactored up here to filter types. So the dot dot means to go up one level and go up there. So let's go here again, and we're going to say new. Angular schematic. We're going to do new component. It's going to be input error. That's what I'm going to call it, input error. So it will create the component. Here's input error right here. So I just added all those to Git. And this, by the way, is in GitHub. In the video, I will put a link to this so that you can go and look at this and see how I've done it. So in here now, we've got, let's copy this block. I'm going to go in here. And we're going to change that. Going to get rid of phone number. I'm just going to call it input. Let's go here. And how do we want to do this? So this is how you input into another component. I need to import that. It got inserted up there. So this is going to be my input filter. It's going to be a filter type, but that's not what I want to call it. This is the component, and I'm going to call this base filter type, and I'm going to import base filter type. Okay, that's a little trick, because it wants to initiate it, and I can't initiate this because it's a abstract class. So what I do is I put a question mark there. That tells the compiler that this is okay, it's expected. Now, the other thing I need is my styling, because if I don't bring this styling over, it does not automatically come over. So here's the invalid message. Now that I still want on my input, but this part right here, I'm going to bring this over. So I'm going to cut that, put that in here. That should take care of everything that I need there. We called this error component. I'm going to copy that name, that word, and I'm going to go here, paste, paste, and this needs to be get error messages. For some reason that's not liking it. Base filter type. Okay, what we're faced with here is an issue with typing. Oh, because that could be invalid. All right. And we need to import that. And we need to import that. Why do I need to import those? Well, this is a standalone, and with standalone set to true, you have to have imports. So everything I'm doing now is standalone. I used to do it where it was all module based. Now I like to do the standalone. It's a little less work. Yeah, you have to do this in many places, but you don't have to maintain all these modules. All right, so now we have our input error. How do we handle this now in, let's get rid of all this. Let's go in here now. So, let's bring this up real quick just so that I can show you. It's app input error. So it's app because I didn't define any prefix. So all my components automatically on the selector have app hyphen appended to the selector name. So if I go in here, so this is app input error, and what I want to fill in is error component. Let's go back here now. So I'm going to remove that eventually. App input error. And I want to import that. And I think it was error component. In this case here, I want phone number. And notice the color change here. This is because it's a component that I created. This is one that PrimeNG created, but it's in a library. I'll show you how to create libraries. It's pretty nice and it's pretty slick. So when you do a library, that means that you can take components out of your project, put it into a separate repo, which means it's not building those components. It's only building the components in your app. But I'll discuss that in another video. So stay tuned. So now I will take this away and let's go do the next one. Component, and it knows this is the SSN. I love this AI stuff because it fills in things ahead of time and makes my job so much easier. Component Vin. This is for Vin. Email. So we're down to 54 lines, 55 if you want to count that last line. But this this has reduced a lot of noise. Think about it. Okay? We could reduce this noise as well. We don't have to, but we can do that. All right? So now this has been taken care of. Let's go back and look at the web now to see how this behaves in the web. So let's go here, do an O. See that error, that's coming out of our new component. And look, it's styled perfectly. We don't have to deal with the crazy styling I had earlier. Let's try here. Okay, that one's styling. Okay, that one. That looks good. That one is not gonna error. Now that's not giving a red error outline like this would. Okay, so that's something that I would have to dig into and find out why. There's got to be a reason. So there's styling that PrimeNG puts in. Usually it's ng dash error if there's an error on it. That's what these are using. That's what it used to be. They may have changed that. I doubt it because they try to keep things pretty consistent. But because of the drastic changes that they've done, they may have changed that part of it. In this video, I showed you how to refactor and to reduce the amount of code that you have to look at and maintain. Yeah, we created some extra classes, but they're tiny classes, and that's what you want. And I can show you how, see, these two things, even though this is Vin and this is email, this and this are duplicate code. They are both duplicate code and they could be reduced. But wait a minute, there's a max length, there's all kinds of things that are different. Well, there's ways of handling that. We would create a component, just like we did this one, and we would call this component in the new component that has all this information. So we would pass an input object to this component with all of this information. The label, everything that you would need here. So the name, the length, and the object. So the object would get passed in, just like it got passed in here. But we could do that. And it's something you could do. And I would recommend that you go get this out of GitHub and try that. I hope this video has helped you understand how to refactor an Angular application. I've shown you several different ways of doing it here. I really recommend that you download this project from GitHub. I will put a link in the video and you can download it and try refactoring this. It would be awesome. Have fun. Please like and subscribe, and I hope this helps.